really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way. Close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome into the show. What a gorgeous afternoon it is once again. As I mentioned, I think September is the absolute best month for weather. It normally is, right? You get a dose all month long of basically what I gather everybody around here loves more than anything else, and that is summer and that is fall. And you get and we've had them both on a roller coaster. But it has been incredible so far. Hopefully you're out enjoying the day. Week 2 wrapped up. I will say this. Remember when I mentioned yesterday that when you win and you're doing things right, things start happening and you're dealing in good fortune. Now, a lot of you suggested, well, wait a minute, the good fortune wasn't there. Leatu Latu was inactive. Sarvarius Ward was inactive. That's not good fortune. That's kind of the way that it used to be. Now, you also have to remember, look around the landscape of the NFL and what teams are dealing with right now. Cincinnati, Jake Browning. Carson Wentz of Zionsville, Indiana, in Minnesota. By the way, that probably will work out better. You watch. But look at the injuries that are going on. Look at all the missed kicks. I guess because you either drill it from 50 plus now or you're garbage. Maybe we're just used to it. Yeah, the exact words, the absolute being either you hit it, hell, 49 yards is now a chip shot most of the time. But the Colts, you win, you're 2-0, you survive a couple of significant injuries, you beat a team that, according to many, including players and Alec Pierce, has one of the better defenses in the NFL. You beat a team that beat you a year ago. You beat Sean Payton. You beat a team that ran all over you for most of the game. And your defense didn't look anywhere near as good as it did in week number 1. And then after you win, you kind of sit back and you watch the rest of the AFC South landscape kind of fumble and bungle around. You got to do that last night. I know everybody out there was rooting for Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers for good reason. Come from behind 2019 win, and the Texans look like a discombobulated mess right now. You'll get a load of the Titans coming up on Sunday. They're 0-2. They have a rookie quarterback. You feel good about that? And then still in Jacksonville, they're 1-1 of the season. And you look at the AFC South, and lo and behold, there are your Colts at the top of the division. That's what good fortune can do. You see good fortune going on with this team. Its quarterback is having a renaissance first 2 weeks of the season to the tune that nobody thought. You can say what you want about your deeply rooted belief in Daniel Jones, and I know who did. I didn't even believe in the team. It wasn't even so much the player. It was just like here we go again. It has not been here we go again. Now, there are some things that, as Shane Steichen would say, that you want to clear up in terms of coaching and handling and find out a little bit more about your defense. But there is a good mixture early in the season, and when is the stinking last time at any portion of any season that you've had a high level of play that we have seen, especially at the quarterback position, and then the good fortune of being where you are. I know it's only 2 weeks, but I can only talk about 2 weeks. I can't talk about what went down 4 weeks in because it hasn't been played yet. But I can tell you about 2 weeks, and they look as good, especially offensively, if not the best, as good as anybody out there. And they've also had some good fortune. You're able to survive missing 2 major pieces to your defense. You're able to survive what I think clearly we'd all view. I don't know if Rick Venturi would describe it as coaching malpractice or anything, but yeah, it wasn't good. It has to be better. The way you handle things, the way you try to position a kicker. Maybe as many brought up yesterday, and Mike in Brooklyn called the show, and a lot of people responded to it. Maybe not be so much the I'm playing a video game riverboat gambler. Think a little bit more about your defense and not putting them in situations when they're down their 2 best players and giving the opposition a short field to deal with. Just better decision-making coaching-wise. Because the quarterback decision-making has been fantastic. And I also think that's where Shane Steichen is at his best. You can't see all of this rubbing off. I don't know. Shane Steichen, the coach, I think we're all kind of wondering, all right, how is this ultimately going to look? I don't know how impressed or lack thereof. I know a lot of you are just glad they're 2-0 because it could have been a lot worse. But I do know everybody is down with how he deals with an offense and how he can deal with a quarterback that has the tools. Daniel Jones looks as if he absolutely has the tools. Colts are 2-0. They are atop the AFC South. They have you feeling good, and there is every damn reason. You guys deserve it. I don't care if it's week 2 or week 12. You deserve it. But this team has, especially offensively, been as sound as you can ask for. And, for example, you look around the rest of the division, there is a huge difference. There is an absolute gulf of difference between the Colts and what we have seen and the Jaguars, the Texans, and the Titans. Now, again, the Colts have played both games at home. Next 2 are on the road in Nashville coming up this weekend. After that in Southern California against the Rams. But the offense has been clicking. We're not even talking about Jonathan Taylor, who has been outstanding so far. I think the offensive line has been as good as what you might expect, and everybody's excited about Tyler Warren. We used to have this consistent argument of this team is not equipped, not built, it doesn't have enough weaponry. We always complained about the wide receivers. Yeah, I think there is a relative balance right now that you have to feel good about. So, yeah, there's reason to feel good. The counter is, in Houston, they probably feel like what you guys have felt like to start seasons here in recent history. Because it doesn't look like they have any answers. It looks like that they put something together and they're trying, but it isn't working. The offensive line, the running game, the injuries. Now, at some point, I will say this. While the quarterback is always going to be the major focus, the most important position in any sport whatsoever, but you also have to have some other dudes too. And it's almost like Houston has decided, well, you know what, we have this guy, and this guy is going to be enough, and sometimes that guy's not going to be enough. And hasn't for the Texans so far. But that is a good result for the Colts as they start the season 2-0. They get Tennessee and Nashville coming up on Sunday. Colts pregame huddle. I got you along with my friends Bill and Casey Valier. Rick Venturi coming up on Sunday morning. We'll get you excited for the trek down to Nashville. A lot of you have asked about the whole party scene down there. You may have to find your own because I don't think Bullseye is doing a party any longer with the Titans. But there'll be plenty of opportunities for you guys to find yourself a spot. I mean, it is Nashville, for goodness sake. So have at it, have some fun, and we'll talk about it all week long for you as well. I will say this, the start of my fantasy season, the start of my pick'em season, very much, well, at least week 2 of the pick'em season. I did well in week 1. Week 2, not so good. But my fantasy team, like everybody in my fantasy team is injured now. It all started with Xavier Worthy, thank you. Did you see the beating that I took this weekend? It was substantial. And I don't know what to do. Now Jaden Daniels is all dinged up, and he's in question coming up this weekend. Now, I know I have 3 other quarterbacks. It was lucky, I guess. I passed out that day and forgot to draft anybody else other than quarterbacks. But it has not been a good start of the season. I've had a very much Houston Texans-esque start. With all you other geeks out there in fantasy. Well done by me. Ugly.
Wow.
Did you see how bad that is?
Yeah, I just found the score. That's rough.
It looks like I'm somebody in like mid to late season form that doesn't pay attention. That's what that looks like. You ever have somebody in your league that just, you know what, you can tell they're not paying attention.
142.6 to 94.6. That's a lot of
stink.
It's a lot of points right there.
I stink right now. I don't know how I'm going to dig myself out of this. It's going to have to be a week to week and see. The problem, what's going to work against me is I don't want to dedicate that amount of time to have to work week to week on this. I suck. Thank you very much.
Say, I squeaked by with a 2-point victory, it looks like. I got lucky.
Yes, my team looks like that somebody is guiding it that's not paying attention.
Yeah, I got
what
lucky.
Mine looks like right there.
Despite the fact that he lost Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase still went off for nearly 37 points. So
go,
thank God for him.
All we need. All right, week 2 now in the books for the NFL season. I did enjoy the double dip last night. However, I wish that maybe, I guess you can call that first game in Houston exciting. Yeah, I wanted to see a lot more, or expected to see a lot more out of Vegas, and they didn't bring it. And that's probably because the Chargers, I think, are flexing early, much like we have seen the Colts do. The Chargers are flexing early as a team certainly to beat. And you can look at Justin Herbert, you can look at the offense, but you look at that defense absolutely in a stranglehold with the Raiders last night. Geno Smith, who did basically anything he wanted to in week number 1, 362 through the air on the road in Foxborough. They couldn't breathe offensively last night, and he was all scattered. That Pete Carroll Vegas home debut did not go well for Geno Smith and the Raiders. They lose by the final of 20-9. I mentioned the Buccaneers with a late score, 2019 over the Texans. The Texans start out 0-2 on the season. Chargers 2-0. Raiders are 1-1. Thus, the first 2 weeks of the NFL season are now in the books. And we'll bring that back up. A lot of you are still commenting, and you can at 317-239-1070 inside the text line, too, regarding the Colts and their start. And I know when you just asked the blanket question of, all right, so what's most impressed you? Everybody's going to point to the quarterback. But there have been a lot of very important offensive cogs in this so far that you want to continue to roll. And I mentioned the good fortune of it all. The good fortune of it all, you'll see a significant change if they continue to play at this particular level or around this level, and this team is not hit up with a multitude of long-term injuries. I know what we're going to say, well, what about the two you just mentioned defensively? These guys didn't play, and it's only week number 2. Well, you're right. I'm talking about long-term injuries. I'm talking about Joe Burrow-esque situations. Or, listen, in Minnesota, that may be somewhat of a breath of a fresh air because J.J. McCarthy had that good fourth against the Bears, who are awful, and otherwise he's been awful. Carson Wentz steps in, and he is now the backup quarterback that will become the starter in Minnesota. So we got that and a busy week in the NFL, which officially gets underway on Thursday. Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots for week number 3. We will be live at the District Tap on the north side. I cannot wait to see you there. Me and Brent Halverson. I'm going to start talking to Colts players later on in the week, and I know when they win a game, the other two shows, and I understand why they want to do it and get the reaction on Monday. I'm kind of working it as more of a preview, and I thought Alec Pierce previewing Denver and comparing it to a year ago defensively to what the expectation was this past Sunday, I like that. So I'm going to start taking that angle, I think, a little bit more whenever we can. Always works out well. Brent Halverson and I, that is coming up on Thursday. The District Tap and our good friend Michael on the north side, Clearwater Crossing. So make sure your schedule is clear, and you can join us up there on Thursday. Twin Peaks, Northeast Side, Castleton, Bud Light Blue Friday. Those will be tickets for the Raiders game. So we watched the Raiders last night. Raiders didn't look very good offensively. Got choked out completely by the Chargers. Two teams, by the way, you're going to see later on this season. Nicely done. So that is Thursday and Friday on the schedule right here. Fever trying to stay alive and push a series of first round of the WNBA playoffs back to Atlanta. They get the Dream later on tonight. Eddie Garrison is going to get things underway for you. That is at 7:15, your pregame coverage. The Dream up a game in that first round WNBA playoff set. So again, 7:30 is that tip time later on tonight. I was 89 years of age, a long and incredible, iconic life of actor, writer, director, Robert Redford. Now, we're all going to start because this is a sports-related show with The Natural in 1984, and I can't tell you, the end of that is always something, fellas, and I'm assuming we're all on the same page. There are various scenes, and I talk about this all the time, when you roll up on it, you know that it is coming. Let's just say, for example, you don't catch The Natural from the outset. You kind of roll into it. That's a scene that you'll wait on. There are many movies we talk about that are on our wheelhouse around here that there are specific scenes, and you know mine. Like, it doesn't matter, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, if I am anywhere prior to Phoebe Cates coming out of the pool in the Judge Reinhold self-gratification scene, I'm going to hang with it. I also hang with it with a natural because Roy Hobbs and the way, by the way, that was put together in film, and the soundtrack score, simply put, one of the greatest of all time, which, even simpler put, so's Robert Redford. Robert Redford passed away today at the age of 89. Somebody had asked me, so is The Natural your favorite Redford film? It is probably there. Did you like Indecent Proposal? Remember from the 90s? I mean, he goes multi-decade. James, you didn't see that? Demi Moore, Woody Harrelson?
Nope.
Here's $1 million if I can tag your wife?
Nope. Not ringing a single bell.
Great. Man, I'm telling you what, this generation gap is profound around here, let me tell you. I'm not a big fan of that film. I go back even further, but I have a great deal of love, and this is one that is not normally in my wheelhouse, but I will tell you it is worthy of watching. If you know the actor Timothy Hutton, he was a teenager, I believe, at the time. He won a Best Supporting Actor Academy Award in 1980 for the film Ordinary People, and it was directed by Robert Redford. But that is Donald Sutherland, Mary Tyler Moore, and Timothy Hutton won. I think Redford won the Academy Award for Best Director, too. I think. in that film. But Ordinary People takes place on the north side of Chicago, and it is as sobering, detailed of a film as you are going to find. And I thought one of the better. It is early stages of the 1980s. It is just gets under the wire in 1980, but I think it's one of the better films. And Robert Redford was the director of that. Just superb stuff. Ordinary People, James.
So it won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Supporting Actor for Hutton.
Yeah, Timothy Hutton. And that basically got his career kickstarted. He went to Taps after that and, on down the line. Brubaker, 1979, where Redford was a warden. Or playing, I think he was investigating goings-on at a prison. And he played the role of the warden, Brubaker. Ring a bell? No?
The only one I really know him from is Butch Cassidy and Sundance
That's
Kid.
a great film. I think The Way We Were, another great film. Just a ton of them in the 1970s.
Oh, he was in The Sting. I forgot he was in The Sting.
Also, because I love this particular era. All the President's Men in 1976 with he and Dustin Hoffman. As good as you're going to find, too. You look at that cast and then wonder how in the world that thing was never going to be destined for greatness, because it absolutely was. 1976, All the President's Men. Another one of my favorites. But right at the top of the list, from a sports angle, will always be The Natural. And that is a moment, I can't be alone on this, that's a moment where you find out where you are in a film, and then you're in and you watch it for the ending. The glorious home run, the lights are blowing up, it hits the lights, and the lights blow up in the background. Oh, my God. And then the musical score as he's rounding the bases. I'm telling you, there are very few moments in film that get better than that don't involve Phoebe Cates coming out of a pool. Pretty awesome. All right. Robert Redford, 89 years of age, passed away. He is an entertainment, an acting, simply put, an icon. Robert Redford. All right, 239-1070 is the number. If you want to call in, you can. 317-239-1070. That is the text line if you want to jump in here, too. Greg Rakestraw, bottom of the hour. Another week of high school football. We've got a busy one of college football. Boilermakers on the road in the afternoon Saturday in South Bend versus Notre Dame. IU Saturday night hosts Illinois. Here's the test. That is going to be one outstanding Saturday in Bloomington. You guys all ready for that? I'm telling you, a weekend like that in September in Bloomington is already glorious enough, but then a matchup, that particular tilt, can't beat it. Zach Osterman of the Star explains. Jake Arthur will talk with us a little bit later on, too. Locked On Colts and more with Jake, as we'll talk about this 2-0 start for your favorite team around here. We also have tickets to give away. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. The stream, the app, HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Thank you all for joining us on what is a weather-wise glorious Tuesday here in Central Indiana. Do not go anywhere. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Weirdos and motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Crank this up, James. I mean, all the way up. A little slow-mo thought in my mind of me going to the dish. Bottom of the ninth inning. 2 on, 2 out. Down a run. We've all done that, right? Generation X dudes out there. I think the only thing that may have been more of a slow motion dream sequence of baseball was This Week in Baseball and the ending. Remember This Week in Baseball, the ending, where you just kind of found yourself doing baseball-like things in slow motion, much like The Natural. That is Robert Redford, who passed away at the age of 89. By the way, too, a lot of you had mentioned on the text stream at 317-239-1070, Jeremiah Johnson, and not our friend of the show on Pacers TV, but the film, that, it's funny, for the younger generation, for example, like James and like Braden sitting in here, the Jeremiah Johnson Redford meme of him nodding his head.
That's where
in
that's
agreeance. From? Yes, that may be more noted for, is it Generation Z that you nerds are a part of here? What is that?
I'm technically a millennial, I think, but he may be Gen Z. I don't know what generation we're
All right,
anymore.
so you millennials, Gen Zers, you probably know Redford more for that. Is it a meme or a GIF or what the hell is that?
It's a meme.
Meme. Probably it. Hey, Gritty, I have news on the upstairs pub. It was supposed to be this Thursday. It has been moved to October. More on that coming up, Brett. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. He is Greg Rakestraw, who joins us every Tuesday at this time. Good afternoon, Greg.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
Robert Redford Films, what stands out to you, my brother?
Well, I mean, I'm a sports dork, so of course The Natural is first amongst that group. I also was lucky enough. You worked at 13. I interned at 13. And I would assume that Kevin Finch may have still been around when you were working at 13 as the news director. Kevin was also the internship director back then when I interned there. And like one of your rites of passage, he had you over for dinner like the entire internship group for a semester. And you would watch all the president's men having dinner in his house, which was stinking awesome.
Yeah.
Of the modern vintage, I thought he was fantastic in Spy Game. So it's not like there's a movie that Redford was in where he was bad, because he's Robert freaking Redford. In terms of this, back end of Gen Xer, frankly, the Jeremiah Johnson head nod is I know that more from the meme too than the actual movie. So it's not just young James and all of his voluptuous hair. The middle-aged dude you're talking to with no hair thinks more of that meme as well. But Robert Redford had one of the all-time movie careers. God rest his soul at the age of 89.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Sting, Jeremiah Johnson, The Candidate, The Great Gatsby, The Way We Were, The Great Waldo Pepper, All the President's Men, The Electric Horseman, Out of Africa, The Natural, The Horse Whisperer, Indecent Proposal, Sneakers. I mean, that alone is an incredible career, and that's not even a quarter of the work that he did over this iconic acting era that he had. Incredible stuff.
Listen, I know you despise Mount Rushmores.
Yes.
I get that. But if there's a guy that would qualify for one, probably Robert Redford would be in that elite group. That's how special of a talent he was.
You're probably right. He even forced me to watch A River Runs Through It. I said, I got to watch what? I put that right up there with Dances with Wolves as two films from the 90s I have zero interest in watching, but felt compelled to watch because of that. All right, this weekend going into high school and some of the matchups we should be talking about. Hey, listen, one individual that's impressed you more than anybody else so far in this high school football season, Greg, who stands out?
It's a good question, just because so much of what I have seen so far has been, outstanding team performances. So My week 1 game was LNLC. My week 2 game was Carmel and Westfield. Week 3 game was Pike and Ben Davis, and then I went down south to see week 4 for Washington and Princeton. So with what I've seen with my own eyes, Zay Moore, the tailback from Lawrence North, is as good and has as much speed. Like, I'll give you an example. They were playing North Central last week, and North Central is better but not great. But just on almost kind of a, throwaway play for a running play at the end of the half, he goes 60 yards for a touchdown. Was just bouncing outside, cuts back inside, beats everybody to the other side of the field, and scores a touchdown to make that a 4-score game going to halftime. And so his speed is something to behold. There are great individual talents across the state. I'm looking forward to seeing Jeremy Finch Jr. in action for the first time. I got Ben Davis and Warren Central coming up. That's my game this Friday night. I don't know if there is a kind of a breakout star of this group. If there is a player that is going to compile maybe bigger numbers than anybody else, it's Miles McLaughlin. It's the running back from Knox, who through 4 games I think has gone over 400 yards twice in a game so far this year. And so that is a person from a stat standpoint that you should watch. But there is a chance that the greatest individual talent I'll see this year, I might see play defensively for Warren Central on Friday night.
He's Greg Rakestraw on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I did not see it, but was Chittard Cathedral as good as the final score may indicate?
Well, it sounded like when you have a game-winning field goal to win the game at 23-20, and again, that's also what I had. I had a 38-35 game on Friday night that was won by a field goal by a sophomore in Carter Browning of Washington with 10 seconds left to go. And it's one of those where I know Chittard's disappointed he didn't get the win, but again, I think for Chittard, I think they know they're going to make a deep run in 4A, and I really think their season comes down to them and Heritage Hills in the semi-state, and that will be a headline game the weekend before Thanksgiving.
All right, Greg, I do want to move to college, and we'll kind of start with Notre Dame before we get to IU, Illinois, just because of the Purdue angle coming up on Saturday afternoon. We knew that Notre Dame was going to have to find itself a little bit and would be missing some pieces. Did we think, especially defensively, it would be viewed as this profound to start the season?
Probably not, but at the same time, I look at it as they're not the team they were a year ago. I don't think they're a bad team. I mean, they've had 2 close losses to 2 pretty good football teams. Now, probably the best 2 teams that are on their schedule, the rest of the way. And we've talked about this in years gone by. When you play the hybrid schedule Notre Dame does, it's all or nothing. Now that safety net is a bit lower in terms of not trying to be a top 2 team or a top 4 team, just be a top 12 team, and then try to play your way into a national championship. I'm not sure that's lost yet. I think they have to run the table. So I'm not hitting the panic button on Notre Dame. I just got beat in a couple of really good football games, John.
You look at IU and you look at Illinois coming up on Saturday, and certainly Old Dominion looks like a nice win now, right, considering what they did to Virginia Tech, especially getting their coach fired in the process as well. But you look at the 2 quarterbacks here, it almost looks like you start with, as you normally do in a football game, viewing or comparing and contrasting the quarterback play from each going into Saturday night.
Correct. And again, the obvious thing for Indiana is, are they ready for this game? Are they veteran enough without having played at least a great level of competition the last 2 weeks? Again, let's give them a little more credit, I think, for the week 1 opponent, how things have played out since that time. You've got the body of work from Mendoza last year with Cal to kind of have an idea as to what that kid is all about. Illinois maybe a little more battle-tested, having had that opener against Duke heading into, to this game. But to me, the question marks are all about Indiana. Does the experience of last year and the experience of players that you have brought in, is that able to supersede, basically having a couple of bye weeks until you get to this game? Can you go from 0 to 60 quickly? And so, yeah, quarterback versus quarterback matchup, absolutely. But to me, I think Illinois is more of a known quantity. And now we're going to figure some things out about the Indiana Hoosiers.
All right, Mendoza, Altmaier, the quarterbacks coming up on Saturday night. And this is kind of what stood out to me. I'm going to ask Zach Osterman about this matchup coming up here at the top of the hour. But Illinois' quarterback, 56 of 78, 8 TDs, 709 through the air so far this year through 3 games. Mendoza, 55 of 76, 9 TDs, 708. I mean, it's incredible how comparable these two quarterbacks and their numbers are going into this matchup Saturday night in Bloomington.
I think it kind of tells you what you're going to get from those two guys and now what it's going to be about their positions. Obviously, Indiana now down a running back because of a season-ending injury that was suffered against Indiana State on Friday night. And I think offense is one thing. And again, because players are so veteran now that you go shop at the transfer portal, even if they're new to you, they're not new to kind of this stage and this level of experience. Is the Indiana defense truly ready? Their numbers look fantastic. They can play anybody like Illinois. If this Indiana defense brings it on Saturday night, I think the Hoosiers are going to be just fine.
It's Greg Rakestraw. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. All right, so you got games this weekend, too. By the way, too, another happy Colts post-game show for you and Bill this past Sunday. Well done.
That took a dramatic turn,
yes.
Did it not, at the very end? And good on Shane Steichen for leading his press conference and going, hey, listen, I think I may have done this differently, kind of giving a night to sleep on this and look at it and study the film, et cetera, because you had that feeling of stealing something at the end of that game, the way that it played out. That does not change how we should feel about this Colts performance, which is still largely good. Obviously, there are now maybe a few more question marks on defense now that some tape is out there. And frankly, Ward and Latu looked better by not playing in that game and given kind of what the Colts defense did against the Broncos on Sunday. But I think if you tell any of us they were 2-0, we'd take it. And if you would say that Daniel Jones had the numbers that he had going in, we would take that to the bank and run with it. So it's been a good couple of weeks for the Indianapolis Colts, that's for sure.
It is funny to see this offense. Plus, you know what happens? Good fortune can tag along. When you do things well, it is amazing how oftentimes good fortune can ride shotgun with you as well.
Sometimes luck is where preparation meets opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And there is something to that. Again, that offense now, and Denver, I think, is a playoff team. I think Denver defensively is pretty good. And the Colts put up 470 yards. And of all the things that kind of got lost in that game, the Colts had 150 more yards of offense than Denver did. Now, does the red zone have to get better? Yeah, it does. But if you're scoring on like 75% of your drives, you're going to be okay. And that's kind of what the clip is right now for this football team.
And in closing with Greg Rakestraw, I think it's kind of like what people used to say about Mario Andretti when you're driving too fast. Who do you think you are, Mario Andretti? When somebody acts just like an average person, you think they're acting, oh, who do you think you are, Robert Redford? That's fairly high praise right there, is it not, in what you do?
I would think that's about as high a praise as you can get in that field. Absolutely, sir.
Greg Rakestraw's of the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Greg, I appreciate it.
See you, buddy.
Greg Rakestraw, Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I agree with this. I always thought the Jeremiah Johnson meme was Zach Galifianakis. You won't be able to unsee it. No, I always thought that too. I'm right there with you on that. Hey, you know what? Obviously, you're just acting. Who do you think you are, Redford? Who do you think you are, Newman? That's high-quality praise right there. Quick one, we'll come back. Zach Osterman of the Star. We'll talk about the comparable numbers under center in this Illini Hoosier matchup coming up on Saturday night in Bloomington. We'll do that with Zach coming up. Jake Arthur talks Colts and a lot more for you. Do not go anywhere. Stream the app, HD Radio, and the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Become a AAA member. Do that today. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
JMV.
Ahoy, Ploy.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Windshield's spreadability. 2025 football season, Windshield's is back. I mentioned this BT Do. I saw this on Facebook. Bud Light Blue Fridays with me. I'm going to be at Twin Peaks on the northeast side, BT. He said, hey, this says Bud Light Blue Fridays with JMV, but there is nothing there that shows where he's going to be this Friday. Twin Peaks, Castleton this Friday on the Bud Light Blue Friday. So there you go. BT, we'll look for you there. We'll look for you all there. The ProFootballTalk.com power rankings. The Colts checking in at number 13. Now, sometimes you keep track of that, sometimes you don't. The Colts checking in at number 13. Texans, 15. Jaguars, 24. Titans, 25. That's your AFC South. Eagles, Bills, Packers, Ravens, Chargers, your top 5. If you are keeping track at home. And many of you do. You get excited, really, about the power rankings when your team is playing well. JMV, as for this week in baseball, it was much better than the baseball bunch. Can't beat Twib Notes segment with Mel Allen, and Johnny Bench had a Twib presence. They always played the Krylon spray paint commercial starring him. I did like Johnny Bench in episodes with Tommy Lasorda. That was good. But yeah, Johnny Bench and Krylon, quote, no runs, no drips, no errors. Nick the Quaker, well done. JMV, The Last Castle, 2001, Redford. JMV, I just heard you talking about the Illinois IU football game. I'll be down there tailgating in the Forest parking. You're more than welcome to come tailgate Eric Tanner, everybody. Go to Eric's party. JMV, other teams are going to start saying, we're going to see Indiana Jones in the Stadium of Doom. JMV, 92 Sneakers, what a cast. Redford, River Phoenix, Sidney Poitier, Dan Aykroyd, Mary McDonald, Ben Kingsley. Indeed. Guys are digging on Jeremiah Johnson. Now, you like him because he's also the Pacer guy, too. Friend of the show from Pacers TV. But that the film. Zach Osterman on the other side. So you have two quarterbacks on Saturday night in Bloomington that have almost identical stats going into this matchup. Talk about that and then some with Zach. That's coming up next, too. Jake Arthur also on the way. A little more Colts conversation week 3 down in Nashville coming up on Sunday. We're going to get you set for all that and then some. The AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Become a AAA member. Hey, do that today. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Ride with JMV.
Are you kidding?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Braden's in here, so James, I'm John. Thank you for joining us, hour 2. Jake Arthur still to come. Greg Rakestraw a little bit earlier. Danny Cannell tomorrow talks college football with us. Thursday, District Tap, Northside Clearwater Crossing. That's Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots. Got to be in on that. Week 3. I had a great week 1, not so great week 2, but my fantasy team, I mentioned this earlier, the first 2 weeks, not to geek out on you, but I look like somebody, you ever have somebody, and you probably do all the time in your league, that doesn't start out well and then doesn't pay attention to it? That's what I look like in the first 2 weeks. I look like the dude that just drafted and then forgot about it. That's how bad that is. Unfortunate it is. Robert Redford has passed away. The iconic actor, director, writer, philanthropist. Passed away earlier today at the age of 89. I would go The Natural, All the President's Men, Butch Cassidy, The Sundance Kid, Jeremiah Johnson, Brubaker. Was he in Legal Eagles? Check that. Nothing but the 90s there? Was he in Legal Eagles? Didn't Rod Stewart have that theme song with Legal Eagles? Yeah, I didn't like Indecent Proposal. Robert Redford, and by far one of my favorites, he directed it. It won Best Picture, Best Director for him. Timothy Hutton, Best Supporting Actor. 1980s Ordinary People is classic. Classic cinema. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, we'll bring him on board from Monroe County, the site of what is going to be one hellaciously awesome, not just Saturday night in Bloomington, but a weekend in and around that area, I am sure. Zach Osterman covers the Hoosiers from the Star. He's, again, with us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I'm sure you probably noticed this. The two starting quarterbacks have eerily similar stats in the first 3 games of the season.
Yeah, no, first thing I'm going to say is I'm going to hang up if you don't mention the Sting. I mean, come on.
I should, yeah, I should. Well, yeah,
one of my all-time favorites.
No, you're right. The Sting, I should probably put that in there, too. You're right.
But no, anyway, you're right. I mean, they are literally like a completion here, an attempt there. I think the most they're separated by is like 9 points on the quarterback rating, and that's basically because Mendoza has one more completion. And so his completion rate, because obviously neither one of them's thrown a ton of passes yet this season. His completion percentage is I think, close to a full point better. But, I mean, they have been very, very similar. Now, I think the journeys to getting there have been a little bit different. Obviously, Altmaier knows his offense better, has been trying to sort of maybe find his way without the help of a consistent, quite as consistent of a run game. Illinois has had some trouble, quite frankly, keeping its pocket clean, blocking the run. They've allowed, I think, it's like the most sacks and the second or third most tackles for loss in the conference so far this season, where I think a lot of Mendoza's issues have been getting settled into a new offense, getting comfortable with, sort of new emphases, obviously new personnel. But no, I mean, it is for 2 of the probably 5 or 6 quarterbacks that we would have looked in the preseason in the Big Ten and said, I think we can be confident that there's a baseline level of competence with him that you're going to see all 12 games this year if he's healthy. I think they have looked the part so far.
Outside of winning and moving on, Zach, was there at all any redeeming quality or effect from that Friday night win against Indiana State 73-0 that, again, IU can take away and move on to the toughest game of the season by far so far Saturday night against Illinois?
I think there are a couple things, and how much maybe the biggest one matters against Illinois remains to be seen, and that's just the snaps you get for your backups. I repeat this statistic ad nauseum. I'll repeat it until it gets updated. Indiana hasn't gone through an entire regular season, 12-game regular season with the same starting quarterback, all 12 games since 2018. And sometimes that's been by choice. A lot more often that's been because of injury. The reality is you have a very young backup quarterback here in Alberto Mendoza. I think it was very valuable to get him into each of those two games, Kennesaw State and then Indiana State. You know, we heard Curt Cignetti say after the KSU game, I played my starters longer than you might have thought I would, but they need some time on task together. I think Indiana State was much more about the opposite. It was, we're going to get those guys out of there. I think I looked at the Western Illinois game from last season, and he basically did the same thing. He gave the starters one drive in the third quarter, and then he pulled them. And it was really much more about, you know, hey, Alberto Mendoza gets quality snaps. Kobe Martin, who now you might need with Lee Beebe out for the season, he has a really good game. Build some confidence, you know, get some reps, just get guys live game action. But obviously you don't know how much that's going to matter in a game like this. I think for Indiana's purposes against Illinois, the wins, the sort of progress is probably a lot more compartmentalized. I think Mendoza probably did have some throws, you know, that I at least anecdotally, I thought he was seeing some windows and fitting the ball into some windows that most quarterbacks wouldn't. And I think that while like Omar Cooper, for example, deserved a lot of credit for the catch and run that you know, sort of tallied up his record day or near record day, I thought quietly Mendoza probably delivered some passes to him that put him in some situations to do that other quarterbacks wouldn't have tried the throw to begin with. I think it's also just very rawly, basically good for Indiana that Mendoza, after looking so kind of tepid in that first game, has now had one game where his connection to one of his top two wide receivers has just been really rock solid. But, you know, let's not over egg the pudding. Indiana State was about, you know, kind of getting in and getting out with a minimum of fuss. Of course, the BB injury was unfortunate, but I don't think there's much Indiana really could have done about that. It was a non-contact injury, and it's not like, I mean, they had three running backs. Somebody had to be carrying the ball, right? So I think that Indiana mostly just needed to get out of Indiana State intact, and they did that.
Zach Osterman covers the Hoosiers, IU Illinois, coming up on Saturday night down in Bloomington. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So with so much said about Mendoza, I mean, all of the greatness was swirling before the start of the season. How do you think he has handled that, along with what you had just mentioned, acclimating to the system, a new spot, new team, and all of that, and actual playing time in these first three games?
Yeah, I think he's been fine. I think his standard for himself is higher. I think Curt Cignetti's standard for him is higher, and I think that's broadly fine too. I think some of the things Cignetti has said have probably more generally have probably been aimed his way. You know, when Cignetti talks about things like, you know, getting guys to kind of recognize our process and our standard. Hey, they've had some success somewhere else, but you know, they've never had success like what we're aiming for here. I don't think Cignetti's only talking about Mendoza there, but I think he probably falls into that blanket. I also just think in general, it's really easy to kind of gild the lily after the fact. I think we forget Cignetti was pretty hard on Curtis Rourke at times last year too. You know, and you sort of, once you get to the end of the season, you say, wow, he set these records. He was all Big Ten. He got drafted. He took Indiana to the playoffs. You know, he threw 6 touchdown passes against Purdue. Curtis Rourke is only here for a year, but man, he's a program legend. And Curt Cignetti speaks really highly of him because that's what coaches always do, right? Like once the player's gone, the coach only remembers their strengths, only remembers their sort of fond moments. I obviously wasn't around for Bob Knight, but one of my, one of the Bob Knight anecdotes that a lot of different players from different eras in his tenure share is they always come back and are amused to find out how much better they were when Knight's not coaching them anymore and is instead using them with his current team as an example of why the current team is not living up to the standard that they left behind. I think there's always going to be a little bit of an element of that too. But I think that there's I certainly don't think we've seen the best of Fernando Mendoza. And I don't think that, you know, if we look back at the end of the season and what he is today is roughly speaking, the finished article of what he's going to be for IU this fall, then I don't think Indiana's going to be a playoff team. But again, it wasn't until, that UCLA game was very much Curtis Rourke's coming out party, right? And I understand they only played 2 non-conference games instead of 3, but it wasn't until you got into those settings that you could really start to see whether a quarterback had the quality to accomplish what Indiana's trying to in the Big Ten and in college football more widely this year. And I think that's why Saturday night looks like such a fascinating test for Mendoza.
So, Zach, have we had the opportunity, or you had the opportunity, since I'm asking you this, to really get anything informationally from the schedule and the 3 wins of the Illini so far? I guess most noted on the road against Duke, but there wasn't a lot of resistance as it seemed in that game either. Any takeaways so far, either side of the football with Brett Bielema's team?
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of pick your poison on these narratives a little bit, right? Like you could say, well, Illinois played a Power 4 team and Indiana hasn't, but then you can say, well, that Power 4 team also lost to Tulane, and Indiana beat an Old Dominion team that then went and beat the brakes off Virginia Tech. I don't think we can really say definitively, like, in terms of using opponents as a measure of these 2 teams, I don't think we can say definitively what either has proven yet. I think, Illinois is very good in the pass rush. They're very good defensively at the line of scrimmage. They were that way last year. That's not going to be a surprise. This is undeniably the best offense, the best, front 5, the best offensive line of scrimmage, the best offense period they have seen this season. I think, we talked about Altmaier's look good, and they've, they lost a couple key pieces in the pass game last year, but they seem to replace them pretty smoothly. On the other hand, they still don't quite seem to be running the ball at a level that makes you think they've kind of got that sort of, comprehensive danger and effectiveness to them offensively. I think the other thing that stood out about Illinois is their last 2 games, because let's not overdo this. Illinois played Central Michigan, Western Michigan, and Duke. It's not like they have played a withering non-conference either. These last 2 games, Duke and Western Michigan, they really kind of started slow. And, in the Duke game, they made some good halftime adjustments. They pulled away late. Duke also kind of threw that game away a little. I mean, Duke did them a lot of favors. Western Michigan, they were never in any real danger. But kind of like IU with the Old Dominion game, they sort of start slow. They make some adjustments. They're better after halftime, and they wind up cruising away. But if you're Brett Bielema, you probably look at it and you say, hey, listen, we probably can't afford an overly slow start on Saturday night at Indiana, because you know what Curt Cignetti's teams can do when you sort of present them the opportunity to land a lot of punches on you early. We saw it a lot last year with Nebraska, with, UCLA, even to a certain extent, Michigan State. I know Michigan State gets that 10-0 lead, but once Indiana gears up, Michigan State just can't resist at all. If there's one thing above everything else that has kind of stuck out to me, because obviously people like me are going to look at this from the 5-foot view of Indiana, the 5,000-foot view of Illinois, and we're going to see a lot more of the warts and a lot more of the concerns and the questions about Indiana. If I'm looking at Illinois and I've got a big question, it is that sacks plus tackles for loss number. Because if I'm Illinois, I'm looking at this game and I'm saying my way home to winning this game is Luke Altmaier, and is testing a secondary for Indiana that is probably still working through some things, still looking for some depth, still been susceptible at times, mostly in that Kennesaw State game, to some chunk plays, some breakdowns, some miscommunications and mistakes. I got to keep my quarterback bright, so I give him the opportunity to get the ball down the field and hurt this team with some chunk plays. But again, I think Illinois has allowed 9 sacks through 3 games. I would not want to be a team that is struggling in that tackle for loss area. I know the competition, but Indiana's got 30 tackles for loss in the last 2 games. I don't care who you're playing. That is a dominant number. I would not want, if I'm Illinois, for that kind of dominance to manifest itself on Saturday night. Because again, this is also one of those where, and I know I'm not trying to be flippant, we don't talk about this a lot historically with Indiana. That's going to be 53,000 angry people. It's going to be dark. It's going to be loud. Like, it's going to be a genuine college football atmosphere in Bloomington. And if you create Nebraska's a good comparison from last season. I don't know that Indiana was necessarily 49 points better than Nebraska, but what happens when one team is ready for the moment and the other one isn't, in that kind of environment, you can look up and all of a sudden it's 21-0. And you're chasing, and Indiana's in control, and they've got the crowd behind them, and all their stuff is working, and you can't even sort of pretend you're trying to run the ball, and it all kind of gets away from you. I don't think Indiana's going to win this game 56-7. I don't think Indiana's – I think I predicted them in the preseason to win by 11 points. That might even be a little bit generous. But my point is, if I'm Illinois, if I'm looking at it from Illinois' side, I do think there are some things that I've seen in these first three games that I'm really focused in on making sure do not manifest themselves against what is, just like Indiana in the other direction, far the best team I have seen so far this season.
Well, and to your point, yeah, even in that blowout win over Western Michigan, I believe it was last weekend, was it not, against Western Michigan? The Bielema, evidently throws a halftime fit in front of his team because he wasn't happy with the play. I think that both he and Cignetti, with that regard, kind of recognize just how ramped up the level of talent on both sides will be and how important this game is in general coming up on Saturday because, they're both in the midst of blowout performances, blowout wins, but clearly not anywhere in the neighborhood of being happy about it.
No, and I mean, you want to go back to that Duke game. I think Illinois allowed Duke to throw for 350 plus in that game. And again, Duke had some turnovers. Illinois had a hand in those. But at the end of the day, if you're the home team in a matchup like that, you're going to say, I think it was 5 turnovers in the end. You're going to say, no, that's on us. Those are our mistakes. We can't let that happen. If you're Illinois, you can't live in a world where you're just counting on, sort of moments of madness to bail you out of wider defensive frailty. I don't – so much of the narrative of this, and I think a lot of this narrative has been baked in by sort of outside criticism of Indiana's scheduling philosophy, the fact that Indiana was in the spotlight for so much of last season. Not that Illinois didn't have a good season last year, but they weren't the team that was kind of the lightning rod for all of this debate over playoff selection criteria and the Big Ten versus the SEC and ESPN versus Fox and all that. Some of, I think, what's coloring the narrative around Indiana going into this game is genuinely very external and is probably not going to be something that Brett Bielema or Curt Cignetti had their team worrying about at all on Saturday night. But if I'm looking at it from the Illinois side, I think there are some legitimate reasons to feel like I can push Indiana, like I can test Indiana, like I can go sort of make Indiana prove itself. But I think there are also some things that I'd look at if I was on Illinois' side, and I would say, we'd better not make that mistake against that team in that environment because Indiana showed a real ability last season, and I think they've maybe started to show it a little bit second half of that Kennesaw State game. We don't know if that really will translate into competition tougher, but that ability that once blood hits the water, they really rally, they really swarm, and they can make things ugly for a team in a hurry.
Zach Osterman of the Star covers the Hoosiers. It is the Illini and the Hoosiers, a battle of top 20 teams coming up on Saturday night down in Bloomington. Zach's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So I am the master of must-win situations, regardless of when games fall in line over the course of any season in any sport. I look at this by the matchup on Saturday, and then IU on the road back-to-back in Iowa City and Eugene. So, man, do you need to take care of it? And really, you can like the fans. It's like fresh meat for the fans. I mean, they've been waiting for this seemingly forever after last season, this matchup with the Illini. But you win that, which I think is in the must-win category. Then you roll the dice and you see what happens in two very difficult places to perform.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at these two teams' schedules, I think the other thing that makes this a little bit more must-win for Indiana is Illinois does have one or two. I mean, like they get USC at home, I believe, and maybe that's a good win, maybe it's not. But the point is, Illinois can walk out of Memorial Stadium on Saturday night with a loss, feeling like it's still got opportunities to build its playoff resume. Indiana will know that all of the likely playoff resume building wins moving forward are going to be on the road. And so This does feel a little bit more urgent for Indiana. I don't think Chris Signetti will think about that. I don't think he will see it that way. But I think
you should ask him that question, just the way I phrased it, and see what his response would be. Yeah.
Yeah, I like getting glared at. But it like just from a wider sort of analytical standpoint, yes. I mean, and we talked about this really through the summer that in a lot of ways this season built kind of comfortably in terms of us trying to figure out what reasonable expectations for Indiana would be, where Indiana's level would be, because you got your home game first, you got 3 doable non-conference games to ramp up to it, preseason games essentially. Then you got your big home game right off the bat. Then I don't think it's unfair at this point to look at Iowa as the easiest of the 3 difficult road games, if that makes sense. It's difficult going into Kinnick, but it's probably a more winnable game than Oregon at Oregon or Penn State at Penn State, at least given what we know right now. Then you get a bye, so you kind of get to reset yourself a little bit. Then you get Oregon, and that, if you are 5-0 going into that game, that's one of the games of the season in the Big Ten. And then there's a nice little sort of, you should be able to kind of ease your way through a couple games. I mean, geez, UCLA all of a sudden looks like just a complete disaster. You should probably beat Michigan State at home. You should probably beat Maryland on Halloween weekend in College Park. And then that gears you up for Penn State in November. And if anywhere along the way the train really goes off the track, then we can comfortably say, well, Indiana just wasn't at that level this year. Yeah. That Indiana's a good team, but they weren't a playoff team. They were a 7-win team, an 8-win team, a 9-win team. But I think that it really does, starting with Saturday, and it's sort of one of those, it feels like you kind of have to keep winning them for at least the first 2 for that narrative to keep building forward. But it does just kind of comfortably go from strength to strength in terms of being able to use the schedule as a real indicator of where this team is.
It's funny you brought up the Signetti glare in this case. Would you rather have the Signetti glare or the Brian Kelly response to the initial question after the Florida game over the weekend? What, as a reporter covering a team in that environment, which would you rather have? What is more telling to you from a coach?
Yeah, I guess probably the glare. I mean, listen, I think the thing about Kelly, and I think he apologized.
Yeah.
In that moment, you're never going to get a coach's best. Like that question, I understand in that moment, at least to a certain extent, why Kelly sort of bristles at it. On the other hand, I also understand why it's asked, especially for that program. And I'm not trying to turn into SEC Zach for a minute, but like comb through the modern history of LSU football. And the thing that fan base is more tortured by than anything else is effective offense. Like go back to the Les Miles era, go back to like all the non-Joe Burrow, Ed Orgeron years. Like it's the thing that tortures that fan base is, for all the talent and all the money and all the this and all the that, why can't we score like the big boys in the SEC more consistently? But if you ask Brian Kelly that question Monday morning, when like the red mist had sort of, had wiped away and he'd watched the film and he was back into sort of like analytical, critical mode, you probably get a completely different answer. Whereas, I think there have probably been times Curt Cignetti has just glared at me for sport. So I will probably go with the glare if I'm forced to choose.
Yeah, I know that when the Big Ten took in UCLA, it was for good reason, and I'm sure there are going to be better days. But, man, did anybody believe in the early stages of this new era with UCLA and the L.A. market with the Bruins in mind, they would be this much of a free space in the conference in football? It's incredible.
That job is I mean, there is I know why they moved on, and listen, I think the world of Tino Sunseri as a coach, and I think there are better days ahead for him. But I think somebody maybe should have seen these sort of potential issues coming with second-year head coach, first-year play caller, sort of shotgun marriage quarterback. With the way things unfolded in Westwood in the offseason. But like more structurally, and there are people who know the UCLA situation better than I do, but everyone I talk to in college football, everything I observe, that job is just not set up for winning. There is, first of all, the athletics department is in like a deep 8-figure budget hole. I think it's in the 40s or 50 millions. That's one of the reasons that they wanted to get into the Big Ten, was because they didn't really have a way out of paying all those bills. Number two, obviously there is no airspace in that media market for UCLA football. Like, there is some for UCLA basketball, at least, if they're good, but there's no blood flow for UCLA football. There's no fan base for it. There's no, there's no juice in the city, anything. And my understanding anyway, at least from kind of listening to other people talk about it and observing from afar, is the administration probably doesn't care that much. And you just can't, like, coming into the Big Ten because you needed to pay your bills is understandable. But I think it was clear that there was never really a plan to be more a plan to a path of more competitiveness than that. And I think you can see now, with the benefit of some hindsight, why Chip Kelly was okay walking away when he did for the job that he did. It's that job is rapidly ascending the list of among the toughest in the conference for a whole host of reasons that have nothing to do with Deshaun Foster.
Yep. I never thought it was going to be the free space that it's become, but that's damn straight what it is. There's no doubt about that. IU, by the way, gets UCLA and Bloomington coming up on Saturday, the 25th. But well before that is a Saturday night encounter at 7:30 against number 9 Illinois. And Zach Osterman of the Star covers. He's down in Bloomington right now. What's things like in Monroe County? Glorious?
Yeah, I haven't been outside in a while.
What?
Weeks like
get outside
this,
in this. You burn easily, though, don't you? You don't want to get it. Maybe you don't.
I do. Weeks like this also just kind of eat up all my time. I'll be out at Cars Farm Park playing soccer later tonight. So.
Oh man, there you go.
Me. Yeah.
Hey,
just banging my old overweight body into people. That's all I got. It's just like raw dad strength. No pace, no technique.
You drive about 5 miles further southwest, and you're going to end up in Greene County if you're not careful.
Oh, I'm familiar with the Fowler Pumpkin Patch. I've got 2 young children. I've got two little kids. Don't act like I've never been out to Fowler before.
Hey, I will tell you this: you got to stop by. I'm going to be doing a Thursday show coming up in October at the Upstairs Pub. It's on a Thursday. I can't remember what date it is right now, but you'll have to slide by if you have a chance. So,
all right, just let me know. I'll be there.
Appreciate it, Zach.
Thanks, Jimmy. Appreciate it.
Zach Osterman of the Stars on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Shout out to Cars Farm Park. My good friend Elise Fields lives on Airport Road. The runway is like right in the back of their house over there. She and the awesome Brad Wellman down there. Love them very much. Quick break. We'll come back. Top of the hour. Jake Arthur, Locked On Colts and then some, joins us. Colts are 2-0. And not only are they getting great quarterback play and a fantastic start, but also a little bit of good fortunes riding along if you watched that Monday Nighter in Houston last night. We'll talk to Jake about that and more coming up after 5. The stream, the app, it's HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live at 317-239-1070. That is the text line. Lob those questions or those statements in here, and I'll read them accordingly whenever we get the opportunity, which will be coming up next. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
JMV.
It takes him a second to get on the stool because he's under 5 feet tall.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, you've asked. The JMV Takeovers 80s weekend coming up. I think Mike Peters just passed away. Crank this up for me, James. I love this song, by the way. Mike Peters at lead for the Alarm just passed away over the summer. Rain of the Summertime is an alternative 80s James classic right here, buddy. Great band. Gonna play that on Saturday night for everybody here. JMV, we just heard a Blink 182 promo. When's that show, Blink 182? All the small things. Yeah, I know. You guys know the all the small things joke to me and how that used to be sung to me?
I think I know where you're going.
It was
with this.
not a flattering term. Thank you very much.
Bleak 182.
Something about my blue jeans.
Looks like they're at Ruoff tomorrow.
Tomorrow night, Blink 182. We gave away tickets to that show, didn't we?
I believe we did.
Damn right. I think the Outlaw Music Fest is on Thursday. That's weird, too. It's a Thursday, and it starts at like 3 in the afternoon. Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson, Nathaniel Ratliff and the Night Sweats. What the hell else? I don't know what that is. Is the String Cheese guy there, or Billy Cheese Strings, or what the hell is that?
Billy Strings?
Billy Strings, is he there? The String Cheeses. Yeah.
He is not at least showing up on their
Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson, Sheryl Crow.
A Day to Remember is coming up this Friday.
Oh, man. So is that Outlaw Music Festival on Thursday?
Yep. It is. Thursday starts at 3:45.
That's a weird 3:45 Thursday start right there. That is a true story. String Cheese. There's a String Cheese incident band, though, I believe. I got that mixed up with Billy Strings. JMV, can you change your Bud Light Blue Friday from the Twin Peaks in Castleton to Greenwood? I'd love to watch traffic again. Last Monday, the traffic, it was snarled right there in the construction zone down to one lane. Billy Strings. Everybody loves Billy Strings. Everybody loves Billy Strings, the Avett brothers or bros. Are they bros? The Avett bros. The Lumineers. Everybody loves that. Nathaniel Ratliff and the Night Sweats. They love that. That's what I'm told. Robert Redford, the iconic actor, writer, director, passed away earlier today at the age of 89. And Greg knows this to be true. I don't bring up the Mount Rushmores of things because I think Mike and Mike back in the day kind of wore that out. But if you were going to have one for Hollywood iconic actors, Robert Redford would be on that. That is true. When somebody says, oh, yeah, you know what, you're just acting. Yeah, who do you think you are, Redford? That's a pretty big deal. Oh, yeah, you're going to look, hey, Mario, slow down a little bit. That's an iconic reference to Going Too Fast of Mario Andretti. You know, it's not like you say, hey, yeah, you know, you're really good at radio like JMV. Nobody says that. Hey, you're on the radio talking up this song. You think you're JMV? Hey, you got your head up your rear end and they make songs about you. Blink 182. Who do you think you are, JMV? Hey, JMV, Mike in Brooklyn checking in. The opening scene of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid cheating at cards, all-time classic. And no question about that. Mike in Brooklyn had an iconic call yesterday referencing the decision-making of Shane Steichen. I think everybody would agree with that. Jake Arthur and I discussed that coming up here at the top of the hour. The decision-making of Shane Steichen. JMV, I'll be in the house Saturday night waving my Sig 10 towel. It's going for the 12th man. Go Hoosiers. That's Matt's going to be down there in Bloomington. A lot of you are going to be down in Bloomington. Not just on Saturday night. I'm assuming the entire weekend. That is going to be a great weekend to be in Bloomington. Jason writes this. So I'm today years old that this GIF is not Zach Galifianakis. Thanks, JMV, for setting me straight. Did anybody else not know that is Jeremiah Johnson, Robert Redford, and not Zach Galifianakis, the very famous now head nod in affirming that is used often in social media platforms?
It's honestly throwing me off more that you're saying GIF and not GIF.
GIF.
Yeah.
Is it GIF or GIF?
I've always said GIF because it's for graphic interface, something or other. But
GIF. A lot of people didn't know that. And that's why I said I think the younger generation probably know Redford more for that head nod and a GIF.
Because I will say, because he was in some of the Marvel movies at some point.
Yeah,
and
I'm not watching that geek stuff.
I know you weren't, but when I realized that he was the same guy in that GIF as it was in those movies, that actually blew my mind a little bit.
What Marvel comic crapola was he in that I didn't watch?
In Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and then I think he was in Endgame as well, Avengers Endgame.
No, I don't even know what that is. Are those things good? Are they entertaining?
They were fun. I haven't seen any films of theirs for several years now, but they were pretty good when I was watching them.
The head coach of the Rams, the Colts are going to see the Rams a week from Sunday out in Southern California. Sean McVay says he tore his plantar fascia while coaching the Rams to victory over the Titans on Sunday down in Nashville. See, in the past, that would be a thing that would happen to the Colts. That's where the good fortune comes in. To me, that is a significant gauge. It may not be to you. McVay revealed his foot injury yesterday on his coaching show. Foot's good. I did tear my plantar fascia, so yeah, it's a good thing because I guess it allows you to heal a little faster, but I was being dramatic limping around towards the end of the game. An MRI confirmed, according to McVay. Sideline injury situation right there, which is always good. And I know a lot of people were talking about this last night if you were watching Monday Night Football. Certainly a lot was made of it. Tom Brady, according to the NFL rules, did not violate them by wearing a headset in the Raiders coaching booth last night during the Raiders-Chargers game. Now, a lot was made of it. Social media last night and all the yip-yap shows this morning. The NFL said today in a statement that Brady, a minority owner of the Raiders and a broadcaster for Fox, is prohibited from going to a team facility for practices or production meetings, but the former star quarterback is allowed to sit in the coach's booth, according to the league. Telecast showed Brady in the Raiders booth wearing a headset during the first quarter of the Raiders' 20-9 loss to the Chargers. Raiders coach Pete Carroll said today on Brady, quote, Brady is not planning games with us. He's not talking to us about anything other than our conversations we have that are really random, said Carroll. They're not structured in any way. He knows he's been very respectful for what he does. Otherwise, he's of the opinion that he doesn't want to be that kind of factor, so he isn't. Tom Brady, that's great. It is odd and just. I mean, the same thing for example, if you just utilized Peyton Manning here, I'm sure everybody would defend that if that were the case. That was probably the most interesting thing that happened last night in that particular game because the Chargers look really good, especially on defense in that win. They are 2-0 on the schedule with the Colts coming up later on the season, much like the Raiders are as well. But coming up on Sunday down in Nashville with the 0-2 Tennessee Titans, we'll talk to Jake Arthur about that game and then some on this Tuesday coming up after 5. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Make sure you become a AAA member today. Got your back on the open road. You need it. Believe me, at some point, You'll thank me. AAA.com to become a member today. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Just got your asses whipped by a bunch of damn nerds.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
When Schuler's, the Avon Meyer, I'm assuming the Meyer locations have the spreadability. I'll go check it out. The Franklin Meyer is a glorious Meyer. What's your favorite Meyer? Now, the Franklin Meyer is great, especially where I live in Burgersville, 144, a little back road right around Franklin High School, James. Back door in that Meyer location is glorious. Win Schuler's spreadability can be found, apparently, in the Avon Meyer. And I know at Gordon Food Service in Greenwood, if you find the spreadability, Win Schuler's. Make sure you tell us all about it. I was kind of wondering why this hasn't happened yet. This is from Ravel, Darren Ravel. But Ravel mentions that ESPN has been talking up what it might take and that they would be interested in doing a red zone for college football. Though they do talk that it's more complicated because of the conference structure. See, this is just where we're all – I mean, our whole lives are going to be in 15-second snippets. We have the patience, James, of a gnat anymore. Seriously. Little 15-second snippets. Hey, your video is too long. You got to trim it down to 15 seconds. Basically, I said, hey, it's JMV, and here I am in a video, and that's going to be my video.
Well, I mean, between that and I don't know if you heard the NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, he was talking the other day about all the streaming services, and he said, well, if you can't
highlights.
If you can't afford all the streaming services, you can still watch the highlights.
That is just such a jackass thing to say. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of truth to it, I'm sure. Like me, I love basketball. I don't care if it's the first quarter. The fourth quarter is priority. Don't get me wrong. But I like watching games. I don't need it in 15-second snippets. I guess that makes me old, though.
I'm just wondering how long it is until TikTok is hosting an NBA game or an NFL game or something like that.
Man. What was I just thinking about? Oh, yeah, it was Major League Baseball. And the other thing is, for those of us that have been kicking and screaming to get involved in the streaming services, to watch our sports, that is going to be a must. And we knew that going in, but now with Major League Baseball, all of your movie references are from the 1980s. Who do you think you are, JMV? Hey, I gave you some 1990s stuff in there, too. So put that in your smipe and poke it. Thank you. Listen, Redford had a lot of really good movies in the 80s, and the one that everybody that's a sports fan absolutely adores. There's never been a time that you've ever put on a baseball glove, thrown a baseball, swung a bat where you haven't done some kind of slow motion Roy Hobbs to the background music of The Natural. Certainly you've done it in your mind. Who has not, I mean, not even with a bat. Yeah, broomstick. Have you not taken a left-handed cut in slow motion like Roy Hobbs to The Natural theme playing in the background? Hey, listen, if you are, then I think, or if you haven't, there is something wrong. I'm assuming most especially members of Generation X you have. I'm going to do it right now. Hey, watch. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Little slow. Oh, man, that popped my back. That felt good. Little slow-mo. I always thought this. I only batted right-handed, but I always thought I had a pretty sweet left-handed swing. Now, I also will tell you that I think everybody that swings left-handed has a sweet-looking swing. Right-handers looks like a damn rusty lawn chair unfolding when they swing.
Take one more swing right now. Take one.
Look. Can you get it? And you just kind of follow it. It goes up into the lights. Explosions happen. You round the bases all in slow-mo. Everybody has done it. That's Redford from the 1980s. Jake Arthur from today. Locked on Colts. Shane Steichen criticism for decision-making. Where are we 2 days after the fact? Jake joins us to discuss that and a lot more coming up next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
JMV, can you name What was on Redford's bat, Roy Hobbs' bat, in The Natural? James, can you name that? Got an answer to that trivia question? Wonder Boy.
Oh.
I believe it was a piece of wood from a tree that was downed after it was struck by lightning. Wonder Boy actually cracked, and then Bobby the Bat Boy had made a bat, and then that's what he gave Roy Hobbs when he hit that dramatic home run.
So I take it when Wonder Boy cracked, that's a pretty big moment in the film.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty sad.
It was fairly dramatic.
Sad.
Well, it was right near the home run. It was right before. And then Roy he had a condition, he was like bleeding and stuff, and they had somebody coming high and tight on Roy Hobbs.
He was
with
bleeding.
The pitches. Yeah, he had a medical issue. I forget what the medical issue was, but I do remember Wonder Boy. Kim Basinger was in that. She's a little dirty, a little filthy. And not in a good way either, in a bad way.
You really had to clarify right there.
Well, yeah, dirty and filthy could go both ways, but yeah, in a bad way. A good way is like 9.5 weeks. but that was a bad way. Darren McGavin. Darren McGavin was a bad dude in that. Remember Darren McGavin was in The Night Stalker back in the day. And also in A Christmas Story, the dad, Darren McGavin. I think Michael Madsen, who just passed away earlier in the summer from Reservoir Dogs, Michael Madsen. What role did Madsen play in that? Look that up.
He was Bartholomew Bump Bailey.
Bump Bailey. He died while trying to catch a fly ball crashing into the outfield wall.
And that kills him in the film?
It does.
All right.
That's how he died. Bump Bailey. Now, that is The Natural. And if you guys were looking for The Natural coverage, you got it right here. Meantime, we got more Colts for you in the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. He is becoming a staple to this show during the Colts season right now. You can find him at Locked On Colts, WTHR.com, at RTB, which is Round Table Network, with our good friend Bob Kravitz. Jake Arthur covers the Colts. He joins us now. Hello, Jake. How are you?
I'm awesome. Don't mind me. I'm just catching up on my old school pop trivia or pop culture trivia here.
Do you know The Natural? Have you watched it?
I've seen it once. I feel like that was one of those movies where they wheeled in the TV when there was a substitute teacher in, but I do feel like I've seen it at least once. He knocks the laces off the ball, right?
I am glad I'm here. Here's what I'm curious about. Because I can go both ways on this. I can rock with the younger generation, and I'm the absolute coolest of my generation. I realize that. But what would this market be like without my education? Seriously. I don't think you guys would know one damn thing without my education here Monday through Friday. I'm glad. I mean, I may be the worst broadcaster, worst radio guy, worst personality of all time. But at least I'm educating. And it's clear that especially those in the younger generation need that pathway to education, need to know some of the things that I know. So I've got that going for me, I guess. Right, Jake?
That's absolutely right. I mean, I'm 35 and I'm already starting to feel super old. Like, I'm a millennial, but I'm already getting to the point where the generation's younger than me. I have no idea what the hell they're talking about a lot of the time.
Let me tell you this. I'm going back. I'm like Benjamin Button. I'm going backwards right now. I'm going to be like, I feel good about, I'm 55, going to be 56 here coming up in December. I feel good about how I'm going to look and feel coming up in 10 years. I'm excited for it. Seriously. I'm feeling good.
That's all we got.
Yeah. Yes. A very sobering thought from Jake Arthur on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So we were talking about this yesterday, and then Mike in Brooklyn, who is a great caller to this show, brought up the decision-making that Shane Steichen got away with. And we'll get to not being aggressive or as aggressive as necessary and getting lucky at the end of the game as he was with the leverage call for his team on Sunday in a second. But Mike was also talking about with a defense that was missing its two most important pieces being captain, go for it, and, kind of leaving your defense a bit high and dry with a short field for Denver's offense maybe was not the best decision-making either. Where are you with Shane Steichen in those areas in coaching this Colts team?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been some times where I feel he's been a little conservative when he's nursing a lead, or in this instance, planning to get a lead and doesn't want to give Denver the ball back, because he said he didn't even want to give them the kickoff return essentially. But at the same time, this isn't like back in 2021 where you kind of had to hide Carson Wentz. The Colts run game was excellent on Sunday, 167 yards, I think. But you don't have to hide Daniel Jones. Like right now, he's one of the biggest reasons you're 2-0. And I mean, I think it was a third down there. They had to have it to Alec Pierce, and there you go. Daniel Jones helps get the ball in a great spot to Alec Pierce. I think it was on Patrick Surtain. So I probably would have been a little more aggressive. I get exactly where he's coming from. But at the same time, it was, 3rd and 7, and they run that inside run to Jonathan Taylor, hoping to get a few more yards. I mean, that still would have been, a 55 to 57-yard field goal attempt? Like, you got to try a little bit more. Denver didn't have any timeouts. I just think there was probably some things you could do. I'm not going to kill him for it, though, because, I get where he was coming from, apparently having a lot of trust in Spencer Schrader. But you get lucky in the NFL sometimes.
Well, I mean, there was a significant difference between 60 and 45. That's for damn sure. From 60, my man wasn't in the zip code. 45, he was true.
Well, Brian Mason told us today that he's made it from 70 in practice before. Which,
no, you're not making a 70. You wasn't going to make a 70 on Sunday. I guarantee you that, because that 60 wasn't close. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd prefer not to see it that way. He definitely said with the 60 that Schrader can definitely make that, and he makes it consistently, but he just hurried up the process and everything. But no matter how you look at it, the Colts definitely got lucky, and they could just as easily be 1-1 right now.
Well, they had 3 timeouts. I mean, they had plenty of options. They played it like they had no timeouts, and you know what? We can only get here, so let's trot out this guy. That's how they played it, and that wasn't necessary under those circumstances.
Yeah, totally agree. I probably would have tried to get it, honestly, to be about a 45-yard field goal. There was just they have more resources than what they were kind of pulling on, and you live and die with that one, and they got lucky.
So Jake Arthur joins us talking Colts on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You brought out the point that is Daniel Jones. I don't know how much. I wouldn't call it in bubble wrap, but I don't know how much the Colts have operated in just kind of cutting Daniel Jones loose, but I think he has been exceptional in every area, and I think that he, by now, at least to me, should earn that trust on an even higher level of decision-making. And I think this is even in areas, too, Jake, that maybe we felt was not going to be even near his wheelhouse, and that is going down the field. Because to me, in the first 2 weeks of the season, he has what is necessary to be that type of guy. We'll see if other defenses obviously adjust to it. But I think that if you're the Colts and Shane Steichen, if you want, you can even turn him loose a little bit more than what we've witnessed so far.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Jones hasn't shown so far. I think he's shown that he can make just about every throw. He's made intermediate throws to the boundary. He's made a couple layered throws over the middle. He maybe doesn't have that type of velocity that Anthony does when you're throwing over the middle to, the second layer of the defense, but he's testing deep, which I think we all were very worried would be gone out of the offense. He's been exceptionally accurate throwing the ball out of the backfield to running backs. Like there was a couple throws that he had to Jonathan Taylor that were just absolutely perfect. So I think we've probably seen just about everything we need to out of Jones, and I'm with you. I think offensively, Shane is definitely starting to take the reins off a little more. We're already seeing Daniel kind of make checks at the line and change protections. I don't know what a percentage would be of full-on audibles, and I don't think he's going to get to the point where it was Peyton, and Peyton, has three options from Tom Moore, and he just picks one. But at the same time, I think physically Daniel has proven to be very capable, but mentally he is excelling. He is seeing everything that the defense is giving him, and it doesn't look like he's really failed any tests so far.
I can't remember a time where the offensive weapons and the quarterback seems to complement one another. And I know it's just a two-game thumbnail sketch, but hell, I can't remember the last time you even had that. And that's the way that it looks, from the pass catchers to the runners, obviously to the multi-talented at tight end rookie Tyler Warren. It just looks like that this group offensively complements itself as well as we have seen around here in a long time.
No, it really does. Like there's certainly going to be some games where particular guys get taken out of the game plan by whatever the defense is throwing them. But it certainly also looks like the Colts have just about every variety that you could need in the offense. If you need guys who can excel inside and kind of create after the catch, you have Tyler Warren and Josh Downs. If they're facing like a really good linebacker core and those guys might be taken away, like if you're facing like a Detroit, for example, down the line, you've got Michael Pittman Jr. now at Pierce, and even A.D. Mitchell on the outside. Like A.D. Mitchell, it's a very small sample size, but I think we're seeing him mature a little bit, and the game seems to be slowing down for him a little bit. And then, of course, Jonathan Taylor looks as good as he ever has. But not just running the ball for Jonathan, but he is catching the ball and pass protecting better than he has at any point in his career. And so they're kind of getting this incredible symmetry from all these contributors in the offense at the same time, with a distributor at quarterback who he's not going to try and play Superman. He's going to be a distributor and get the ball where it needs to go. So I think that's really what is making this thing work so well right now.
Jake Arthur, Roundtable Network, Locked On Colts, and more joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. 0-2 Tennessee and Nashville. That's next up for the Colts at 2-0 coming up on Sunday. So 2-0 start. You look around the AFC South, and Tennessee looks messy. We'll see for ourselves on Sunday. Houston looks extremely messy. And I guess the jury is still kind of out, both good and the bad, with the Jacksonville Jaguars. What are your thoughts on this Colts team in the first 2 weeks of the season? What else you see within their own division?
Yeah, I think they're the only team right now you can really be confident in moving forward. I mean, even if you don't think they're going to win 11 or 12 games, they certainly feel like the favorite to win the division at this point. Tennessee, there's some redeeming qualities there. Like Cam Ward looks like he'll be fine in the long run once there's better pieces put around him. Their defense isn't bad. Houston has some important pieces in place, but again, they have got to figure out how to actually build a team. Like, I don't think anyone was surprised that their offensive line is terrible at this point. They can't run the ball. Like, they're crashing down to earth because of how that team's been built. And then Jacksonville, it's weird because they've got a lot of talent, but some of the things you really thought you were going to rely on with them, it's not working so far. Like Brian Thomas Jr. has kind of gone into a shell. They're running the ball a little bit better. The Etienne is kind of improved himself a bit, but Travis Hunter hasn't been like a star yet. So I think the Colts are really the only team you can look at and say that the arrow is pointing up right now. Like the other teams, Jacksonville and Houston, you could say there's good stuff there, and they'll be fine in the long run. Tennessee's a couple years away probably, but the Colts, by all accounts, should absolutely be the favorites for the division right now.
Jake Arthur joins us. Leatu Latu missed on Sunday. Certainly you had Charvarius Ward with the concussion situation. He missed as well. Any early week thoughts on potential returns for arguably the two most impactful defensive players the Colts have?
Yeah, they need both those guys back badly, don't they? Xavier Howard is a okay piece to have for what his role could be, but it's definitely as a complementary role and not the top corner like we saw last week. So they definitely need Ward back. You need Howard in kind of some situations where you can pick and choose where he goes, and not that you have to have him be the guy. So Treverius Ward definitely, if they can get him back, that would be excellent. He's got the full week ahead to be able to ramp up that involvement and clear out of the concussion protocol. So hopefully we see him, in a limited fashion, the red jersey or what have you, tomorrow on Wednesday to open up practice. I mean, it's not the end of the world if you have to go into this matchup against Tennessee kind of in the same situation as last week. If Ward and Latu both need another week, it's probably fine. But one of the big reasons Tennessee is not winning right now is they cannot protect Ward at all. Now, he also is not really protecting himself either, because he's one of those guys that kind of has the arm arrogance, and he'll sit back there like a statue because he thinks he has the time. I mean, he's already been sacked 11 times in 2 games. So the Colts will probably be able to get to him regardless of if they have good coverage or Latu. But at the same time, like those guys have got to get back in a hurry, because we've seen what it can look like when both of them are out. There's no pass rush, and there's a lot of holes in the secondary. Some miscommunication as well. So that's like you said, that's probably 2 of their 3 most important defenders. So they've got to get back in a hurry.
And you look at this potential 3-0 start against Tennessee, and then obviously in Southern California against the Rams the week after that. I mean, the way this thing lays out for them right now, you could not ask for anything better, simply put.
No, I mean, if you go into LA 3-0 and you have like Ward and Latu back, and you're at full firepower, the Rams are a really good team, but I don't think they're unbeatable. I think they're somewhat comparable to Denver in terms of where they should kind of rank in the hierarchy of the league. And we obviously don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but God, if you're 4-0 after that Rams game, like this would look like a legit team. So yeah, you're sitting pretty going in that matchup, especially if you can get a win at Nissan Stadium on Sunday.
It's been good so far. Anything else stand out for the good and the bad? And you brought up Xavier Howard, and I guess he owned up everything yesterday. That's one. But given their circumstances, does anybody, because they need just the bodies as much as they do, does anybody survive a Monday or earlier in the week without getting cut, having the type of afternoon that Xavier Howard had Sunday at Lucas Oil Stadium?
Oof. I mean, if he were to have another one and the Colts were healthy behind him, I certainly think they would probably make a move in the lineup, maybe not cut him. But at this point, I don't know if they are super comfortable with both Mekhi Blackman and Jonathan Edwards behind him. I kind of thought if Howard continued to have a bumpy second half that we might see more Jonathan Edwards, and we really didn't. But yeah, it's certainly tough. It's in the name of accountability, though, it does kind of make you curious about what direction it goes with Howard if it continues down this kind of bumpy path.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you kind of understand right now, because I don't know what else you would end up doing. But, man, that was beyond rough, those circumstances, really back to back on Sunday.
Yeah, I thought the first penalty on 3rd down where he was covering Cortland Sutton was they didn't need to throw that one, but the other 2 were pretty bad. And, I mean, he had given up the touchdown earlier in the game to Marvin Mims, and there was another one there. He's just – speed has never been his thing. And at 32 years old, after not playing last year, I think Sean Payton really attacked him wisely, with a bunch of drag routes and crossers and stuff like that, making him chase guys across the field, which he's just never going to excel at. So, I mean, there's tape out there now of how to counter a guy like that when he can't be physical and he's not matched up against a guy who is more of like a big lumbering type. And, if you have to put him against those fast receivers, it's going to be a problem.
So Lou Anarumo, I know, met with the media, you guys, a little bit earlier today. Anything about a defense that did not look anything like it did in week number 1? Now, I know the competition certainly was a lot different, but it was disappointing in a lot of aspects, even beyond 2 of their most influential defensive players missing that particular game. So the bad to start with the defense, but the good and how much Lou Anarumo talked about, and I would agree with this, Cam Bynum being a part of this team. To me, he was almost like he is perfect for this team in this market, like Obi Toppin is perfect for that Pacer team in this market. That's kind of what it feels to me.
Yeah, I like that comparison. That's a good one. I mean, you love to have a guy who not only is he talented and he keeps making plays, but he's also a big-time leader and one of those guys that won't let his teammates get too low. Like he's got that infectious smile, he's got the great personality and everything, and he's always going to be on his guys about kind of keeping their head up. You need guys like that, but the fact that he is one of your best defensive backs as well and is responsible for taking the ball away, that's pretty invaluable. But I think it also creates a really good partnership with Anarumo, because Anarumo mentioned that, you know, there's probably a little bit of a perception when guys celebrate too much that they just goof off a lot and that they're maybe not super invested in studying and all that, but it really couldn't be further from the truth for Bynum. He said he's always, you know, by the end of the week checking in with Anarumo and going over the game plan one more time and seeing if there's anything else they need him to do, or just kind of dotting all the I's and crossing the T's. And the guy is addicted to the preparation and the process. So as good of chemistry that Anarumo had with like a Jesse Bates back in Cincinnati in the day, it looks like that's really kind of coming to fruition with Bynum, and he's become a really valuable member of the defense.
All right, what are you writing about, Jake? Tell everybody about it and what they can see. I'm assuming you probably do some podcasts and stuff like that, right? What are you writing about?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're writing about, I'm going to talk about Xavier Howard and Lou Anarumo, and just kind of how you approach a veteran like that when they're kind of at a low point. Like Howard doesn't need to be told he's having a terrible game, you know what I mean? But stuff like that. And then we're really turning up preparation for Tennessee this week. We're going to have some kind of cross-pollination with the writers over covering the Titans there over at Roundtable Sports. So, you know, we kind of turned the page on the previous matchup on Tuesdays, and then by the time we hit Wednesday, we're kind of full bore for Tennessee.
You got it. A Roundtable Network, Locked On Colts and more. He's a friend of the show and needs educated on the things that are great in life. Clearly, Jake Arthur on the Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. Jake, it's a pleasure, man. We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Jake Arthur on the Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. James, I've never tried this before. I'm not the biggest beer connoisseur. I look for low calorie. I'm a low calorie. I'm kind of a yellow water beer drinker. So I'm trying for the first time here because it was purchased for me. Are you ready? I've been in, and you know that Todd Meyer went to Michigan this summer and brought back Labatt Blue Light in bottles.
Mm-hmm.
I already had cans. You can get Labatt Blue cans around here. Labatt Blue Light cans. Labatt Blue Light Lime is what I'm going to try now.
Labatt Blue Light Lime.
Labatt Blue Light. That's a lot of words there for your beer.
A lot of L's.
Labatt Blue Light Lime. Who was the dude that I had on, the betting guy from Canada? And I said, I mean, when I bring up Canadian beer like it's something, do you kind of go, oh, yeah, great.
Is that Jason Logan?
Jason Logan. Labatt Blue Light Lime. What's the best low-cal beer out there? Maybe you don't do low-cal.
I don't really do low-cal beers.
Anybody out there, you don't necessarily have to tell me. Well, I guess you can write it to me. 317-239-1070, the text line. I'm just kind of curious if there's, because you know me, I live in the world, obviously, of Michelob Ultra. I love that. Love Bud Light. But what are some other low-calorie beers? Because I like to drink still, and listen, I balance it out. You go, well, how are you doing that and losing? Well, because I balance it out. I prioritize like I'm Dean Martin Jr. right here. Low-cal beer. So I'm looking anywhere from 115 or below, calorie-wise, per bottle. 115 or below.
Well, I see Budweiser. This is just a list that Bing has provided for me. What? Budweiser Select. Yeah. It's a lager with 55 calories.
I have. You know, I don't know if I've ever had that. 55.
There's a lot on here, actually, that I have never heard of before.
I think I've mentioned this before, too. I have done the Modelo Oro, which is 90.
Have you ever tried Moosehead Cracked Canoe?
I have not. Is that a locale?
Apparently
What?
it is.
There's zero way I can get any Moosehead locale around here. Canadian beer. But yeah, Labatt Blue Light Lime. It's a lot going on there. That was purchased, by the way, you're going to love this. Lance McAllister will love this, at Jungle Gyms in Cincinnati.
You can just get anything there, can't you?
Well, they had Molson Gold in there. Because I remember when Molson Golden used to be easily obtained around here, but that's difficult now, I think.
Next time you go to Jungle Gyms, you'll have to see if they have the Moosehead Cracked Canoe.
Yeah. There's I think somebody told me Landshark had a low-cal light beer that. So yeah, definitely that is the place to go. I got Labatt Blue Light Lime and crawfish tail meat. About that. Look up calories on crawfish tail meat. I'm rocking that, buddy.
Is that a beer or is that just crawfish?
That's just crawfish tail meat
okay.
in general. I'm assuming that's good for me, right? I don't think that's not seafood though, right? Crawfish. Ooh, 70 calories.
Yeah.
But there's only like little tiny piece of meat.
Per 3 ounces of serving.
Yes.
No carbs, though.
Huh? No carbs? Well, we're going to rock that. That and some pea pods. I'm going to have a night. Hey, quick break. We shall return. That's you and I the rest of the way, too. 317-239-1070. You want to jump on the text line, you can do that. You want to call in, you can do that. I don't know if anybody's on hold, but we can certainly get you there as well. A little Colts conversation fever, trying to stay alive in the postseason later on tonight. 7:15 at a Garrison pregame, 7:30 tip time against Atlanta. That is at the Field House later on this evening. And a lot more for you. Road shows Thursday and Friday, too. I shall explain. Coming up next, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. By the way, too, Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day in less than 15. 50 in betting, 50 in dining from Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. That's coming up, too.
Bobby, I'm your white knight.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Greg Rakestraw, Jake Arthur, and Zach Osterman podcast with each 107.5thefan.com. IU Illinois conversation will fit in some Barry Odom, Purdue, Notre Dame, Ofer this season. We'll fit that in tomorrow as well. Danny Cannell will join us. Danny Cannell's often very good on this show. He's coming up tomorrow as well. 317-239-1070. That is the text line. Now, is this going to be sponsored too, or is this kind of like the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline? Can we do them both here?
I'm sure we could do them both, but that's probably above my pay grade as well.
Yeah, probably right. Just kind of curious, because you know me, everything on this show gets sponsored. There's no doubt. It's the way it should be too. It helps, believe me. Revenue, like think about Glengarry, Glen Ross for a moment. ABC, always be closing. Revenue benefits everybody. Us, advertiser, you, all of us. JMV, trust me, Yingling Light and Yingling Flight, both excellent, tasty, and not available within 1,000 miles of me here in Southern California. That's our good friend Jim McCann. There are a lot of good things you can get. I thought you could get everything in Southern California. You can't get Yingling there? What in the hell? Locals is also 5.2. Let me go ahead. I'm going to double back on this. Sorry about that. This is something about the text stream. Sometimes you get multiple messages like I did right here. This is my bad, not yours. You know what I mean? I got like from the same time, it's not in the same text sent to me. Yeah, I know. It sounds as stupid coming out of my mouth as it sounds into your ears right there. I can tell. You're going, what are you talking about, nerd?
I'll have to walk around and see what you're looking at here at some point.
Locals Light by Shorts Brewing, 112 calories and 3 grams of carbs. Well done. Locals also 5.2% ABV. I like it. JMV Flight from Yingling is not necessarily better than Ultra, but always deserves a spot in the beer fridge or cooler on the beach for snob slamming. That is me. Douche-tacular I am. JMV Cincy Light Lime, better than the Reds bullpen, Jeff. That is true, buddy. Natty Light all the way. Thank you very much. JMV Bud Light next. 80 calories, 0 carbs. Shout out to our good friends at Zick and Bud Light next. Taste a bit like seltzer, but will give you a buzz. I dig a buzz. I need a good buzz.
Just had someone suggest in terms of Robert Redford movies, 3 Days of the Condor.
Oh, yes. That's 1970s as well right there.
75.
Thank you very much. Iconic, everybody. Oh, there's Dale right here. The spreadability has been located. Meyer in Muncie. The spreadability. That's a hell of a price right there, Dale, for the spreadability. I'm going to make sure. We've got original cheddar and sharp cheddar right then and right there, the Meyer location in Muncie. Shout out to Dale for the spreadability. JMV NFL Live on ESPN giving the Colts and Daniel Jones a lot of love right now, as well they should. They're 2-0. Great start. If you were going to hand out the MVP award for the first 2 weeks of the season, that would go to Daniel Jones.
Could maybe also throw Justin Herbert in that conversation after the start.
Too. Man, their defense, he was impressive last night. Their defense was impressive. We're going to get a little Colts-Chargers matchup later on this season, too. Jason Hatfield says garage beer, 95 cals and delicious. Frank Lucas says the Michelob Ultra Limes. I know of that as well, brothers. Big Michelob Ultra guy, big Bud Light guy right here. We'll be with them coming up on Friday, too, by the way. Fridays at Twin Peaks in Castleton. It's a Bud Light Blue Friday. I've got Colts tickets to give away. Hey, shout out to our guy, Vic Barks. Vic Barks has been a constant inside the AAA membership lounge, where I think some days are better than others in there. Vic's a good dude, man. There's a lot of good dudes in there. There's some a-holes, but there's one in particular. Maybe only one. Is there only one, or are there multi-a-holes in there?
There's really only one that has caused a lot of the issues, but to be fair, I haven't seen him in there for a little while.
Yeah.
So.
We may have scrubbed him from this mission inside the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live.
You say that out loud, and now he's going to jump right back in there. You know that.
And then I say scrub, and I kind of giggle, too. I can't help it. But now the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live, and I did want to give a shout-out because he did send me this email. Shout-out to Vic. Vic Barks, everybody. And everybody inside the AAA membership lounge, especially those that don't act a-hole-ish. We like that. JMV, how is it you lose weight or stay at that weight and you drink beer? Well, because I don't eat. It's a hell of a combination. No. I eat a little bit, some. But I'm watching what I eat. It's not entirely. I mean, it is. I still, there are like major food components that I used to have on certainly a weekly basis that I haven't had in over a year. I haven't had macaroni and cheese. I haven't had pizza. I haven't had bread, any sandwich of any kind. I haven't had fast food in over a year. I know, it's weird. I have completely douched out. Living in this world. It is a little bit weird, I will say. But I'm okay with it. And listen, sometimes, like, I get more enjoyment in feeling and having this. I always had a high level of injury, or I should say energy, not injury, and injury. This high level of energy, but it's, I think, even more appropriate and certainly more profound now just because I feel better. Get better sleep. My blood pressure, remember we used to joke about it all the time? Hey, you passed out across the road from the Slippery Noodle that time because your blood pressure was skyrocketed. That really wasn't funny. I shouldn't be making fun of myself in that capacity. And I was taking medicine for it, and I had the opportunity now with this to get off of the medicine. So those were all goals of mine. So it's not just, how I look in jeans for the first time since 1985. There were health concerns that I had that I got to deal with too. So I know I kind of make fun of myself all the time for drinking and not eating and doing this and having a good time, but I did get the opportunity, thanks to this weight loss journey, to take care of some health situations that absolutely needed to be addressed. And I am known as, in that capacity, a complete half-asser. And I got down to business there. So if you're kind of like me and you're in that similar category, the quicker you get down to business, the easier that it is, or it becomes. That's what I realized. Even at 55, I can learn something, which is good. Hey, quick one, we'll come back. Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day, 50 in betting, 50 in dining, courtesy of Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. Every day, Tuesday through Friday, I should say, which is most days. You can get a horse. Somebody's going to win. And let me tell you, they take care of you up there, too. 50 in betting, 50 in dining. Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. The Tuesday edition right now, we'll see who wins the Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day.
theme music.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Harris Hoosier Park race of the day. Ben's the winner. The winning horse was Whoop. It was like that Whoop, there it is, or just Whoop. Whoop, there it is, tag team. Winning horse was Whoop. Paid $4 on a $2 bet. The $2 exacta was $32.20. 50-cent trifecta, $42.30. 50 in betting, 50 in dining, going to Ben. That is your Harris Hoosier Park race of the day, where horse racing happens now through November. Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino. It is in Anderson. Enjoy the Harris Hoosier Park race of the day, Tuesday through Friday, right here. I just was talking to Kyle Kinnett, the architect of the BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate, presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. So they don't have a tailgate in Tennessee. However, I will tell you this. They do have a tailgate in L.A. So, for example, if anybody out there decides, let's just say if the Colts start 3-0 and you get incredibly excited, there evidently is a flight on that Saturday, so a week from Saturday, out of Indy direct to L.A. So if anybody plans on going to L.A., and I don't know if you have those plans hashed out right now, or maybe if you do, we will try to give away some bullseye passes for SoFi and the party out in L.A. How's that? So, yeah, they used to host that party in Nashville. They don't now, but Southern California is kicking it for them. And we'll give away some party passes for those that maybe not right now, maybe right now, but whatever the case, if you decide to go to Southern California and watch the Colts and the Rams in Week 4, we'll give away some passes for those that are making that trip. How about that? Now, that'll be one hellaciously awesome time. I believe that flight gets in, from what Kyle had said, around 8:30 on Saturday night in L.A., and then you leave on Sunday night. Just a thought. And I know that's planning ahead, but the one thing we do better than anybody else around here is plan ahead for our parties. So that is prior to Week 4 and the tailgate with Bullseye going on around SoFi in Southern California. We'll keep you updated on that. Of course, this show is going to be live, the District Tap on the North Side, Clearwater Crossing. That is on Thursday. Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots. Got you covered with all our picks for week number 3. We'll go over the rubble in which my picks, I'm sure, were on week number 2. I don't even really know how I did, but it wasn't as good as I did in week 1. Week 1, I was 11-5. And I think I really stunk it up this week. My fantasy team's an absolute mess. It's almost like I'm that dude that doesn't pay attention. Like, that's what my team looks like, the dude that doesn't pay attention. Yes, James?
That would explain the 4 quarterback situation you have going on.
Yeah, maybe it. Sometimes you got to go with it, and I'm going with it. So that's on Thursday, and then Bud Light Blue Friday with Colts Raiders tickets. I believe that's the game coming up this Friday. Twin Peaks, we're in Castleton. James, thank you very much. Our good friend Braden was in studio a little bit earlier, too. Greg Rakestraw, along with Jake Arthur and Zach Osterman. The podcast at 1075thefan.com. Back in studio tomorrow. We'll see what happens with the Fever as they try to stay alive. They get Atlanta coming up at 7:30, 7:15. Eddie Garrison has your pregame coverage right here. Danny Cannell talks IU Illinois tomorrow. And a lot more Colts conversation. We start at 3. Don't miss a second tomorrow. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Have a great night.